Welcome to the CIDCI Online Salon Series. I'm Rebecca Snelling, a member of the CIDCI Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you here today. The Center for Innovation in the Design and Construction Industry is a not-for-profit organization that relies on your financial support to provide these programs. Thank you to our sponsors who make all of this possible. CIDCI is a global community of architects, builders, technologists, and building owners seeking to improve the built environment and inspire innovation. We facilitate the exchange of ideas, knowledge, and insights to address challenges and opportunities in our industry. We seek diverse voices to create better outcomes for all of us as we strive to accelerate creativity and the awareness of new ideas. And here's an invitation. Please consider participating in CIDCI as a listener to these free webinars or as a sponsor. If your company needs to stay abreast of the latest innovation, and if you want to inspire your colleagues, we are your go-to destination. Okay, here's a little bit of information about how today's session is going to work. We are recording the presentation and it will be on the CIDCI website and YouTube as soon as possible. If you have questions or comments during the presentation, please use the chat box. We will cover those near the end of the presentation. Today's session will run for 60 minutes. Today, we're going to be discussing learning to learn and collaborate with others, navigating moods in the workplace and beyond. Although most people can tell when they're in a good mood or a bad mood, moods are much more nuanced and influential than many people realize. When it comes to learning and working successfully with others, our moods and the moods of the people around us are crucial. Depending on the moods that we might find ourselves in, we may or may not be inclined to do what we might need to do in order to learn, or we might not be open to collaborating with others to take care of something that matters to us. Today, we're joined by an author and the co-founder of Pluralistic Networks, Gloria Flores, in examining how moods that we routinely fall into influence, for better or for worse, what we do, and how we can learn to better navigate these moods so that they don't derail us from accomplishing what we care to accomplish. Welcome, and thank you for joining us, Gloria.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Dean and Margie also for the invitation, and Katie for your help. It's a pleasure to be here, and I was listening to the title of the talk, and it's a mouthful. But thank you. So nice to be here with all of you. I think I see a couple of familiar names in the audience. And I'll just say a little bit about me. As Rebecca said, I am the author of Learning to Learn the Navigation of Moods and the co-founder of Pluralistic Networks. And it's really the work that we've been doing all these years that led me to write the book, because it was something I wrote as I learned to help people develop skills. And in 2009, we founded Pluralistic Networks. And although I started my career as a lawyer, but I spent most of my life helping people develop skills that would enable them to work more effectively with other people, and that's what led us to found Pluralistic Networks after doing work as a consultant, etc. And the mission of Pluralistic Networks, I'll share some slides. I learned something new about sharing slides today, so let me see if I mastered it in 5 minutes. So let's presenter view. Good. So our mission in Pluralistic Networks is to help people develop skills and sensibilities that enable them to better take care of what matters to them, and to coordinate and co-invent with others, including with people from diverse professional, cultural, and geographical backgrounds, and accomplish what they aspire to accomplish. More specifically, the kinds of skills that we help our clients develop: coordinating effectively, listening to and exploring assessments, navigating moods and opening possibilities, building and repairing trust, and learning to learn on an ongoing basis, cultivating a disposition that opens you to learning on an ongoing basis. And of course, the title today was about learning to learn and learning to collaborate with others and navigating moods, which is not all of these, but it covers quite a bit. But I want to share with you 3 foundations of all of our work that covers what the skills that I'm talking about today, but really it also is a foundation for everything that we work with our clients in terms of helping them develop skills. And these are 3 foundations that as we work with our clients and with other people, including my kids, there's 3 things that we pay attention to all the time, that we have to be working on all the time. One is language. And our claim is that human beings work with others in language. They take care of what's important to them in language. They coordinate and they co-invent with others in language. And there's a family of finite set of actions that we take in language to do that. I'll say more about that in a second. 2, people are always in moods. Moods are always in the backgrounds, and moods influence what we do and what we see possible to do. So how we coordinate, what the acts that we take are impacted by the moods that may be present in the background. And 3, people are always in situations, multiple ones at once. Right? With morning, we're in the situation of being in this talk. We're maybe in the situation of doing something with our family, something with our community. There's other situations, right? What's going on in the world, what's going on in Ukraine, etc. So human beings are always in multiple situations at the same time. And the moods that they find themselves in has to do with those situations and what matters to them in those situations, what they care about and what they see possible with respect to that. It's going to be related to the moods that they are in and the actions that they take. So let's go back to coordinating and effectively, the coordinating more effectively with others, right? So there's this finite set of actions that we take to coordinate and co-invent. And I think maybe many of you are familiar with those, but it's always good to see them in front of us. The finite state of actions, a family of of actions, right? Because it could be variations, but there's 5, 6 if you divide promises from offers. 1 is request, right? When we need something, we can make a request, right? I'm thirsty, I need a glass of water, so I can ask somebody for a glass of water. When somebody else needs something, or we think that we can add value or bring a benefit to somebody else, we make an offer. And when we want to create something new, we make a declaration. When we want to get on the same page about what's going on and what we see, we make assertions, we state facts, we talk about what we see in front of us. And assessments, right? We make those all the time to evaluate what's going on, and to define what we may need to do with respect to what's going on to take care of something that's important to us. Remember, we're always with concerns in a situation, so we're making assessments for the sake of defining what we may need to do, for the sake of orienting ourselves to take care of something. And of course, these acts don't happen in isolation, right? Just because I make a request doesn't mean that my concern is taken care of. Other things have to ensue, right? They happen in conversations with others that lead to other acts, other commitments, until we take care of what we're trying to take care of, or for us or for somebody else, right? A request may lead to a promise or a counteroffer, and after the agreement, it may lead to declarations about how we're going to do something, etc. And lots of assessments and assertions about how we're doing until we complete, until we're satisfied and what we needed what somebody else needed is taken care of. So pretty simple, right? Here are the acts. Here's what you need to do. We have these amazing gifts of language that we can bring to the foreground so that we can take care of what we need to take care of and accomplish what we want to accomplish. Simple, right? Now that we know that, go apply it, go put it in some program, and everyone is going to be coordinating perfectly. But you know, as well as I know, that it's not so simple, because as concepts, this can be simple, right? We all know what a request is. We all know we can ask for help. Little kids start making requests since they're toddlers. So as concepts, these are not difficult to understand, but as actions that we are able to take, as skills that we have, actions that we're able to take in the situations that we find ourselves in, when we need to take them, not so simple. And I can't see any of your faces, so I'm not going to see a show of hands, but I'm sure, how many of you have been in situations where you needed help? Perhaps you were overwhelmed with work, you had tons of things in your plate, and you really needed to delegate something to somebody else, and you didn't ask for help. I'll raise my hand to represent all of you. So, Kristen, thank you. You're raising you're putting your hand up and with a reaction mode. And Rebecca as well. Yeah, we worked with many people who are in situations where the only thing they could do to take care of something that they needed to take care of was ask for help. And instead of saying, hey, please somebody help me, or Rebecca, please help me, they stayed quiet. And they didn't get the help that they need. We've been in many situations in some of our programs where people have to play a game that they've never played, and there's no reason why they need to know how to play it, and so they don't know how to do something, and they stay quiet. They don't ask for help, and they are not able to accomplish what they need to accomplish. How many of you have been in situations where you want to make an offer? Right? You have this great thing that could be a great benefit to somebody else and to you, right? That you want to start doing something new, and you think that this is something that would be valuable to others, but you stay quiet, don't make the offer. Devin, thank you. I see your hand. Very good. So it's the idea of making an offer, not the concept of making an offer, something we can all understand, but the act of making an offer is not something that we're all able to do when we may need to do it, when it would be good for us to do it, when it would help us to take care of something that matters to us or to people around us. And never mind, I'm not going to talk about all these, of course, but never mind assessments, right? Assessments is this wonderful act that we human beings make all the time, because it's how we get oriented to what's going on around us for the sake of helping us define what we need to do to take care of something that's important to us. Yet we have assessments all the time. This is good, this is bad, this is appropriate, not appropriate, et cetera, but we don't necessarily share them, right? We don't feel comfortable sharing them. So even in situations where it would make a big difference in the success of a project, it could make the difference between success or failure, a difference between delays or not delays, and sometimes difference between life and death or injuries. People have the assessment about something that shouldn't be happening or something that needs to be done differently, yet they stay quiet. That sounds familiar to some of you. I will interpret the silence as yes, because that's one of the, thank you. That's one of the acts that we really need to learn to make in conversations with others, to share, to explore, to listen, to not react to. So even though we make assessments all the time quietly, we don't necessarily have the ability to engage in conversations with other people about them for the sake of seeing what we may need to do together to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So what's going on? Why does that happen? And there's lots to talk about there, but I'll just for simplicity's sake today, it's part of what's going on. A big part of what's going on is that people find themselves in moods that don't allow them to even see the possibility to take those actions. They're not predisposed to take those actions. So although someone else may say, hey, all you need to do is ask for help, delegate that, the person doesn't see that as a possibility for themselves. They see that that's something that could be done, but not for them. They should not do that. So let me take a moment to elaborate a little bit about what moods are. So moods are nothing that we do. They are predisposition. They predispose us to certain action or to inaction, which is also a kind of action, right? They predispose us not to make a request, not to share our assessments. So but they're not, like I said, they're nothing that we do. They happen to us, right? We don't control our moods. They're already there without us even thinking about it. The moods are there, right? They come from our history, and they're already there. And we are not aware of them for the most of the time. Sometimes we're kind of aware in the sense of, like, it's very general, like I'm in a good mood, or I'm in a bad mood, right? Rebecca was playing happy this morning. Sometimes that puts us in a good mood. Or if someone's already in a bad mood, it may put them in a worse mood, right? They happen to us, right? And even though we're not aware of them, they influence us, and they guide us, right? Or they misguide us. I mean, they're a great gift. They're always guiding us. They're there without us having to think about everything. We do this or we don't do that because we're being guided without having to think about every little thing. But sometimes they misguide us in that they influence us in a way that has us conclude prematurely that something is not possible, that could be possible. We just don't see it yet. So, but we can learn to become more aware of the moods that we find ourselves in, or that are around us, that other people may find themselves in. And we can learn to translate them. We can learn to recognize them as automatic assessments about how things are going in the particular situation that we're in, and the possibilities that exist with respect to taking care of something that matters to us in that situation, right? So moods are given to us, like our history predisposes us a certain way, but moods are always connected to our concerns for our future. Moods are always connected to possibilities. So moods can be translated as automatic assessments. Like, for example, I won't ask here since I can't see you, but a mood of frustration could be surrounded by assessments like, what's going on is not what should be going on, or what should be going on is not what's happening, right? So a mood of frustration is usually some assessments related to unmet expectations, right? So those kinds of assessments may be connected to a mood of frustration that somebody finds themselves in, like, oh, I'm frustrated, or they're frustrated. It's usually unmet expectations. That is the assessments that are in the background. A mood of resignation, right? A mood of resignation is connected to, surrounded by assessments like, there's nothing I can do about this situation. Right? Nothing is going to change. What's the point? Right? No one's going to listen to me. There's no point doing anything. That's not possible. Those are the kinds of assessments that surround a mood of resignation. And hopefully I didn't put any of you in a mood of resignation about something, right? Because moods are also contagious, right? Without us being aware that we're falling into the moods of the people around us, we may already be there, right? So moods, we can learn to translate moods, recognize them as automatic assessments. And there's sometimes in certain situations, well, sometimes in the situations that we find ourselves in, we may find ourselves in moods that may hinder, may limit what we could do to take care of something that matters to us in that situation. It may limit us from accomplishing something that we set out to accomplish, that we care about accomplishing. And one situation where that happens is when we're embarked on learning something new, right? That's the main, that's what, this is the topic I'm passionate about, and it's what led me to write the book, because I think that's so important for all of us of all ages, right? Sometimes when we're embarked on learning something new, not just sometimes, on a regular basis, many people fall into moods that don't allow them to take the actions that they need to take in order to continue to learn, right? So, and I've been fascinated by this, both professionally and as a mother, right? Because I realized that one of my main roles or main responsibilities when working with our clients, and also with working with my kids, particularly when they're younger, but even now, is to help them not get trapped by moods that have them conclude that it's not possible to learn, that it's not possible for them to develop certain skills that they might want to learn, right? That I have clients who say, I think it'd be good for me to get better at delegation. That would be really important to me because there's a lot that I want to do and I don't have time, and I really need to get better at delegation. But the moment they need to practice making their requests, they can't. Right? It's very uncomfortable. It's not something that they should do. It's how it lives in their body. Other people can, but not me, right? And the same thing for my children, right? Like at the ripe old age of 8, they were already, math is not good for me. I'm bad at that, and I'm never going to learn. So, I want to quit. Now I'm never going to do anything that has to do with math, etc. So I was, fascinated in the positive and negative sense, like, oh, this is amazing, and how quickly we close ourselves off to learning, right? And in life and in our world, learning to learn is something that's crucial, because things are always emerging that we need to learn. There's things that are always, we're always going to be exposed to new things and new technologies, new people, right? We need to learn to work with new people, yet we often pretty quickly conclude that it's not possible for us to do what we need to do to learn. So as I started to learn, how can I support people better in this, right? How do I learn to do this? The work of the brothers Dreyfus, Professor Dreyfus, Stuart Dreyfus, professor of engineering, former professor of engineering at UC Berkeley, and the late Professor Dreyfus, Bert Dreyfus, his brother, professor of philosophy at UC Berkeley. Their work around skill acquisition was very helpful for me for learning to think about this and learning to see what's going on when people embark themselves in the learning process. Let me share again. So the Dreyfus skill acquisition model says there's 6 stages of learning that a learner can be in as they are in the process of acquiring a new skill. So from beginner to master. So and each stage, a person is able to do different things, right? And oftentimes beginners want to be masters right away. They forget that they have to, go slowly and learn the basics. But in each stage, the learner is able to do different things. For example, a beginner is able to basically follow instructions, follow procedures, and they need, in order to continue to learn, they need to practice. They need to declare, I'm going to practice and make mistakes, but I'm going to follow instructions and follow procedures. They need to ask a mentor or a guide or a teacher to help them, and they need to ask for help. And as long as they're doing that, they'll continue to learn, right? Someone that is in the competent level, what Professor Dreyfus defined as competent, is someone who feels more responsible for results, right? Because they have more experience. A beginner really can't expect to feel responsible for results, although sometimes people do. But a competent person can be expected to feel more responsible for results, but they don't have much experience. So they're often going to be in situations where they don't know what to do, new situations. And if they want to continue to learn, they have to one, declare that they're going to be in situations where they don't know how to do something, right? They have to put themselves in situations where they don't know how to do something for the sake of continuing to learn, for the sake of learning how to do something through trial and error, by making mistakes, etc. They also have to ask for help, right? Because they're going to be in so many situations where they don't know what's going on or how to do something. So they need to ask people for help. They also need to ask for and be open to receive assessments about how well they're doing or what they're not doing well, so that they can learn from that and modify certain things and try again. So that's what people, if I won't talk about all the different levels, but so each stage you can expect to be able to do different things. And if you want to keep learning, asking for help, competent person particularly, asking for assessments, etc., etc. But often people don't take those actions. They don't see the possibility of asking for help. They're not open to receiving assessments. They instead fall into moods that so why is that happening? Because the moods that they may fall into, the moods that they may find themselves into, may limit their ability to do that. Moods like this, right? So a beginner, for example, may fall into a mood of insecurity, like, I don't know what to do, and I'm never going to learn. I'm bad at this, and there's no one that can help me. Those are the kinds of assessments that could be surrounding a mood of insecurity. And connected with that, a mood of resignation may be there as well, or may begin to emerge. And there's nothing I can do about it. There's no one that can help me. I remember when one of my sons was small, I could help him in math, but he was not receptive to my offer because no one could help him, right? That he was already bad. And he already concluded that that's not something that he can learn. And so for insecurity, resignation, guilt is another mood that tends to show up for beginners, particularly when they're working in a team, right? Oh, I don't know how to do this, and I'm holding the team back. I'm the weakest link. I should just withdraw. I'm just a burden, and that's not a good thing to be. So, and confusion, right? Confusion is a mood that's surrounded by an assessment like, I don't know what's going on, and it's bad not to know. I need to avoid situations like this where I don't know what's going on. That's not a good thing for me to be in. A person who is in a mood of competent, in the stage of competent, of what the Dreyfus brothers define as competent, may, because they're in situations so often where they don't know what to do, that they may start to find themselves in a mood of overwhelm, right? Overwhelm, that the kind of assessment that may be in the background of a mood of overwhelm is, there's so much to do, there's so much I don't know, and there's nothing I can do other than work harder and harder, and I'm still going to fail. I'm still going to not do a good job. A mood of anxiety can be connected to that as well, right? That sense that there's that impending failure, that there's nothing I can do other than sit here and wait for me to fail, right? Another mood that can show up in this stage that can be very detrimental to learning is distrust, right? In order to advance to the next level, like I said, we need to be open to the assessments of others around us, right? So that we learn from them. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What could we do different? Yet if there's a mood of distrust, we're probably going to be less receptive to those kinds of conversations. So that may also hinder our ability to take the kind of actions we need to take and continue to learn. So to learn, right, to develop a new skill, we need to cultivate a predisposition that opens us up to learning, right? That opens us up to the unknown, to not knowing, as an opportunity to grow, and not as something to fear or to avoid, right? And we can learn to do that. We can learn to cultivate those predispositions by cultivating moods like these, right? And this is something that we can learn to do, right? It's not wrong that we fall into moods that are in the red here that I call potentially restrictive moods, right? Because remember, moods are always connected to our concerns and so forth, right? So we're going to fall into whatever moods that we fall into, but we can learn not to get trapped in them, and we can learn to cultivate moods like the ones in the green. For example, a beginner, instead of confusion, right? That's a mood that says, I don't know and it's bad not to know. Perplexity is something that could help us. A mood of perplexity could help us to continue to learn. Perplexity, although in the dictionary, it might sound similar to confusion, and in the way we talk, I'm perplexed, I'm confused. Some people may use it the same way. As a mood, it's different because it has a different orientation to not knowing. Perplexity is, I don't know what's going on, but there's something here that's good for me to figure out, and I'm going to get to it. I'm going to work here until I figure it out. So perplexity, it takes the unknown as something good and an opportunity to discover and learn something new. In the competent level, cultivating a mood of trust would be very helpful, right? To continue to learn. Trust that you can make mistakes and that people won't judge you poorly, that you have a network of support that cares about you and is committed to your growth and development, that you can ask for help, that they will share assessments for the sake of helping you to grow, not for the sake of telling you, not for the sake of judging you poorly and kicking you off the team, right? So cultivating trust in that stage is crucial. So another situation where people often find themselves in moods that may be detrimental to accomplishing what they may want to accomplish, detrimental to taking care of what they need to take care of in that situation in order to make things happen that they want to make happen or that they're committed to make happen, is when we're working with other people, right? When we're working in a team, when we're working on a project. Often we may find ourselves in moods, or other people around us may find themselves in moods that could be detrimental to us doing what we need to do to be successful together. So let's go back to coordinating, the earlier conversation about coordinating, right? Remember, there is this finite set of speech acts that we make, and they don't, requests, offers, etc. And they don't happen in isolation. One leads to the other, and in order for us to successfully take care of something that is important to us. So I imagine many of you are familiar with the conversation for action map. Let me share it with you. Very good. So, if I imagine in this audience, many of you are familiar with this, but the conversation for action, right? It's a map that shows how conversation for action ensues, right? How we take care of something in conversation with others, how we make and successfully deliver promises, right? How we satisfy a condition of satisfaction, how we make an offer and then deliver it all the way through, right? So just a quick review here. So a conversation for action, it starts with a request or an offer, right? Nothing will happen between people unless, or most nothing will happen between people, particularly when we're working together on a project, etc., without someone first making a request or an offer, right? So there's a phase of preparation that leads somebody to make a request or an offer. I need this, or I'm going to offer this, and right here you make the request or offer. Then you negotiate, lots of conversations back and forth, and if successful here, there's promises, right? Mutual promises, agreement, yay, we go forward, and then we start working together to execute on our promise, to deliver the promises we make. And lots of things happen there, lots of conversations. And I imagine in construction, there's tons of people involved here, lots of conversations for actions in here to deliver, right? So there's declarations about scope and milestones and who's going to be the team, who's going to do what, who's going to be responsible for what. And then lots of other requests and offers, lots of renegotiations, lots of promises, etc. Lots of assessments, right? To evaluate how things are going, to evaluate if we need to do something different and so forth. But assuming all goes well, you get here, report completion. We're done. Yay, we're successful. Everyone's happy. We ask the client, were you happy? And the client says, yes, that's exactly what I needed. Let's do it again, right? That's a successful navigation of this territory, right? That we make request offers, we negotiate, we execute, and we do what we need to do until we've delivered and our customer is satisfied. But it's not always smooth terrain, right? It's as many of you, I'm sure, have experienced and at a very personal level. There's lots of bumps and hurdles, and sometimes those seem insurmountable, right? And sometimes the what's going on in the background is not sometimes, often, if not always. There's moods that could limit us, restrict us from having the kinds of conversations we need to have in each phase to be successful, right? They may negatively impact our ability to share our assessments, to make requests, and to ultimately take care of what's important to us. Sometimes people find themselves in these kinds of moods, right? In the preparation, in each phase, potentially restrictive moods will emerge, right? And the more complex the project, the more likely that these moods will emerge, but they can emerge in very simple projects as well, right? And there's others that can be here too, but I put these here because they tend to be very common, right? So, and I put distrust here in red because that's trust is crucial to collaboration, and we need to really be alert to when distrust may be present, because distrust is present, we are not going to be receptive to collaborate with one another. When distrust is present, we don't make requests or offers. We're not receptive to the other person's requests or offers, right? We don't share the assessments we need to share, and so forth, right? And also, when distrust is present, other moods are probably going to be present as well that may be limiting, like resignation, like frustration, right? Because you may be frustrated, we may be in a mood of frustration about things not happening that need to be happening, but we're also in a mood of distrust where we don't see the possibility of having the conversations with the people that we need to talk to, with the people involved, to see what we need to do about that situation, right? So distrust it's a mood that is one that we need to be very alert to, and to its presence. So, for example, we may be in, let's say we make an offer, and the person is receptive to at least entertaining it, right? Sometimes a customer is it's not receptive at all to hear an offer from us, right? No, not those people. I don't want to work with those people, and so that I don't even want to talk to them. But let's say you make an offer, and you're in the phase of negotiation, right? And the mood of distrust is in the background. That could be connected to assessments like, oh, I don't trust their skill. I don't trust your skills. So I don't trust your bandwidth. You're too busy. Or they may, distrust your sincerity, right? You're saying one thing, but they don't believe what you're saying because of past events in the relationship and so forth, right? So if distrust is present in the negotiation phase, or skepticism, right? Maybe it's not plain distrust, it's skepticism, like, oh, I don't really believe what you're saying. You're saying you can do that. That's not possible. No one can do that, right? So a mood of distrust or skepticism will will limit your ability to get to an agreement, right? A promise is unlikely to ensue when there is a mood of distrust present in the negotiation phase. Or if you're in the execution phase, right? Put yourself in some project where you're in the middle of delivering it, right? And that initial excitement, right? Like, yes, we have the deal, we're going forward, we're going to do great things together, can dissipate as things unfold, right? As unexpected things happen, or as our expectations are not met. What we thought you were going to do is not what you did. It's not what I expected, and so forth. As those kinds of assessments begin to be in the background, these kinds of moods can show up and limit us from having the conversations that we need to have, right? If we're in a mood of distrust and something is not working well, we're less likely to raise our hand and say, hey, this is not working well. What can we do to fix it, right? Because what's the point, right? That's a mood of resignation too. What's the point? That person is not going to do anything to fix it. There's nothing that can be done. And what happens? Delays and loss of money and broken relationships, less possibility for collaboration in the future, and so forth, right? So when we are embark on doing something together, we need to be very alert to what moods may be in the background, because they will influence how we're working together. They will influence what kind of conversations we have together, and they will influence whether we're able to successfully navigate the whole territory of, the whole cycle of our relationship. We can learn to cultivate other moods, right? We can learn to cultivate moods like these. And again, I put a trust in red, because if we are committed to cultivating trust in our relationships, right? Even when particularly when distrust emerges, being aware that it's there and commit to build trust, we will likely also cultivate other moods as well, right? When there's trust that the person has the skills and the abilities to do it, and that they care about us, and that we're going to be able to cope with whatever comes our way together with respect and with an openness towards figuring things out in a way that takes care of each other. We're more likely to have the conversations that we need to have, and we're more likely to cultivate a mood of confidence and serenity, right? That we can get done what we need to get done, and we can take care of the concerns that we have. So I don't want you to leave here thinking that it's bad to find yourself in moods like the ones I just showed, the moods in the darker cloud, right? Because those moods will emerge. And like I said, the more complex the project, the more likely those moods will emerge at some point or another, or on a regular basis, right? Distrust will emerge on a regular basis, right? With distrust, when we make promises to each other, there's always a possibility that we're going to break it, or that or what we did is not what the other person expected, right? We have different backgrounds, different histories, different ways of interpreting things. So there's likely going to be something where what we thought we were going to get is not, and so forth. So distrust is likely to emerge, but we can resolve to cultivate trust, repair trust when we notice that distrust is emerging. I don't have time today to go into that in detail, but I want to just point out that by paying attention to our moods, right? They can be, let me actually share the slide because I want you to take that. I want you to take note of that. I want you to keep in mind that moods are always connected to people's concerns, right? Like I said in the beginning, moods are always connected to people's concerns in the situations that they're in, right? So they can be great indicators of conversations that we may need to have to take care of something that matters to us in that situation. So they can be great indicators of conversations that we need to have that needs our attention, right? They can highlight, hey, there's something going on here that we need to explore to see what we could do. We can't avoid falling into restrictive moods, but we can learn to not be trapped by them when they emerge. And as we learn to navigate our moods, right? That's the skill that we need to learn, to not be trapped in moods, to cultivate other moods. They can help us bring into focus actions that we could take to take care of what's important to us and to our customers. And the navigation of moods entails a number of things, right? A number of activities. The first of which is recognizing your moods beyond the good and bad. And that's an ability that takes time to develop, but you can, right? Begin to recognize your moods as these automatic assessments that you may be making without even being aware that you're making about the situation that you're in with respect to something that may be important to you. We've developed software that helps people with the different phases of navigating mood, particularly the recognizing moods, right? We've identified a number of moods that are very common, both in learning to learn and in working in teams that tend to show up. And people can begin to practice asking themselves, what's my mood in this situation, right? So that they can recognize how it is influencing them with respect to what matters to them. And as you begin to recognize your moods, you can go into the other phases of the other activities involved in the ability of navigating mood. One is reflecting about what the assessments that may be surrounding your mood, reflecting about what's important to you in the situation, and most importantly, and what could you do about that? Because ultimately, the ability to navigate moods is about taking actions, right? It helps us to take action, to take care of the concerns that we have in the situations that we're in, right? And what kind of actions? Actions you can take in conversations with others, right? What do we do? Requests, offers, make assessments, have a conversation so you can define what to do, right? So reflection is another activity of navigating moods, and cultivating is another activity of navigating moods, right? I put here trust and serenity because those two moods are crucial for both for our well-being, but also for our ability to collaborate in an open manner with other people, and also our ability to learn. these are skills, and they take time and practice and ongoing reflection and patience, right? Because to develop your skills around navigating moods, around coordinating, and so forth, around sharing assessments in particular, is something that that takes time, because we have to unlearn some automatic ways of being that we already have embodied, right? So these are skills that take time to develop. And that's what we do in our company. We help people develop these skills, these sensibilities, so that they can learn and develop skills, and so they can work more effectively with others, and so forth. We have, I'll just do a quick plug. We have a number of programs, we custom and open. We have one coming up in April that I don't have too much time to talk about it now, but it's one that where people play a game, right? We put them on teams and they have to coordinate. And it's a great place to practice observing the moods that you fall into and how they influence you, and reconsidering whether those in light of what may be important to you in a particular situation you're in, etc. So it's a great place to practice coordination, practice learning to learn, practice observing your moods and navigating them, etc. We have another program that it's lighter, it's just an introduction to navigating moods, and others. So if you'd like more information, please feel free to get in touch with us. And that's all I have. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Gloria, it's been an absolute pleasure. And before we let you completely off the hook, I do have a couple of questions for you, quick ones. And I would encourage the audience, if you have any additional questions, throw them in the chat box for us. So this whole idea of recognizing new moods, it's very connected, I think, to mindfulness. But what would you, for someone who's got no experience paying attention to their own moods, right, and just kind of follows them, what would be an easy first step? I know it takes a lot of work to get proficient at it, but what would be just the first little thing they could do differently after this webinar to go put into practice to help gain more awareness?
Well, I would say keep in mind that moods are always there, right? You're always in moods, multiple moods at once, and they're always connected to situations. So I'd say, well, do an exercise. If you have a meeting coming up, take a moment to say, situate yourself in the meeting, right? I have a meeting coming up. What's the meeting about? Who does it involve? What do you care about it in that meeting? What do you want to make happen? What's your mood? Right? So go through that and then see that there's a mood already, right? You are about to go into do something with a client. Who does it involve? What's that situation about? What do you care about there? What do you want to make happen? What's your mood? Right? So that's to begin to bring to the foreground what mood might be there, and as you get and don't worry about being right or not, right? Because we need to learn to go beyond that good or bad, right? Because moods are a lot more nuanced than that, and the more nuance you can get, the more you are going to be able to first recognize how they're influencing you and consider whether it's helpful, and also begin to learn to influence them so that you can take care of what actually matters to you in that situation, and not go with that automatic predisposition that may show up from your history.
Yeah, great. So just even repeating those questions to yourself and driving more awareness. I'm guessing the more you practice that, the more nuanced your answers will be, right? That you come up with identifying your own mood.
Yeah, try it and see what happens.
Great. And then I think one more question I have for you really quick. What are some caution points that you might offer someone who gets stuck in a mood that's not helpful for them accomplishing what they're trying to achieve with collaboration or in a meeting or with a project team?
What is some caution?
Like any caution points you might throw out there for someone who is stuck in a tough mood, or advice that if they can't get out of it.
Yeah, I don't have like a quick thing, but one thing, one thing is, first of all, begin to be aware that you are in that mood, and ask yourself, how does that mood, how is how you're orienting to that situation helpful with respect to what matters to you in that situation, right? And it's easier said than done, right? That's why I'm saying it's a skill. Sure. And it's right. Not tips and technique. It is a skill. It's developing a new emotional habit also, right? It's like I can see myself in a mood of frustration and resignation. And how does that help me actually take care of this? Doesn't help me. Maybe there's something I can do. And that's connected to also having the skills for then having conversations about that, right? Oh, let's explore my assessment here. This is going wrong. And can we talk about it, right? So it's connected. Navigation is also connected with being able to have the conversations that you need to have.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Gloria, very much for that. There is one more question that popped in the chat box we don't have time to get to, but if you don't mind taking a moment to just jot some answers into the chat box, that would be fantastic. If you have not got a copy of Gloria's book, I would highly encourage it. It goes into more depth. There's a lot of case studies. There's a lot of the content she covered, but some helpful things to remember as you embark on this journey and learning and practicing. So thank you, Gloria, again, for spending time with us. This concludes our online salon. And as I mentioned earlier, this session has been recorded and it will be on the website, the CIDCI website and YouTube shortly. To join us for future webinars, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter on our website at CIDCI.org. On March 11th, please join us for a very different conversation entitled The Mental Health Crisis in the Construction Industry. How can we respond? By 2019, suicide had become the leading cause of death in the construction industry. And construction workers are 6 to 7 times more likely than the average worker to die from an opioid overdose. The pandemic has exacerbated these conditions, and with recent research showing that nearly 1 in every 6 construction workers reports feelings of anxiety and/or depression. This session is going to be led by CPWR, the Center for Construction Research and Training, who is a global leader in construction safety and health, which focuses on reducing injuries, illnesses, and fatalities amongst construction workers. And they've developed resources to help the industry respond. So in this webinar, CPWR will discuss mental health and opioid conditions in construction, highlighting current research and sharing evidence-based solutions. Please join us so that we can all learn how to help address this crisis. And then lastly, special thanks to Katie Olson for helping keep us on track and all of our sponsors who make all of this possible. Thank you all for joining us. And as always, if you have any thoughts or comments, please reach out to us via the CIDCI website's Contact Us link. Thank you and have a great afternoon.